Guys, it's Canucks fan. Sorry. Hey guys, it's Canucks fan 91. Finally back for the NHL season after that dreaded lockout. Yeah, I don't want to really talk much about that. Don't think anyone really does. So I'm gonna have my 2013 NHL predictions here. As you can see right up there, those are my predictions. In the past, I've done just slideshows, but I figured this would be just as long. And I'd actually give you an explanation for most of the things. So I'll start off with the East. At the very bottom, Islanders. They got a good team. Like they got not a good team, but they got some pieces in place. Ryan Strome. I don't know about Nino Niederreiter if he's gonna be any good still. John Tavares, of course. Mark Streit. They got some good pieces, but they have too many holes in their team. They're the worst team in the East. Last year, Florida made the playoffs. This year, they had too many things go their way last year, and the division's a lot tougher this year. I got them falling all the way to 14th. Next up is the Jets. I really want to make the Jets higher in the standings, but it's just there's too many good teams to put ahead of them in the standings, so I got to hold the Jets down to 13th. Ottawa, they had a miraculous season last year, getting into the playoffs. Well, I think they go down a little bit just because I don't know. They got a bit lucky last year with how good everyone played. They don't have much goaltending. They got some offense. Their defense, other than Carlson, they have almost nothing. I guess you could say Mark Mathot, but yeah, they don't really have much. After that, Toronto. I'd move them up higher if the Longo trade was done by now, but I feel like the Longo trade is not going to happen because we're going to get halfway through the season, and then the Leafs will be bombing it, and they won't need a goalie for the rest of the season, so Luongo, I don't think he's going to go to Toronto anymore, unless the deal gets done before the season starts. Next up, we got Buffalo. They got a good goalie and some good pieces in place, but no real stars on the team other than Ryan Miller. I just feel like this team isn't good enough to make the playoffs. Bit of a surprise here. We got the New Jersey Devils missing the playoffs at number 9, losing Parise and this team like Kovalchuk. I just don't know. I have a feeling that he's just not gonna have a good year, and yeah, they barely made the playoffs last year, only by I don't know 7 points. I'm gonna guess they were in 6th place, so yeah, they weren't the best regular season team last year, and I think they'll become the second, I think, Stanley Cup, or maybe the third Stanley Cup champion and miss the playoffs the following year. Next up, another surprise. They got Montreal climbing back into the playoffs. They got a really good goaltender. They got some underrated offensive pieces in Eric Cole, and maybe not underrated, but they got Alex Galchenyuk in the draft. They got some good pieces there, and their defense, I can't name too many, but they just seem to be a team that you don't really see the good players on them, but they always seem to somehow make it into the playoffs, other than last year, of course. Montreal making it back to the playoffs. Next up, Tampa Bay. They have a great offense. I think on Andreas Lindback, he's going to succeed in Tampa Bay, and he'll carry them back to the playoffs. Above that, I got the Hurricanes, adding Jordan Staal and Alex Seaman onto the team. That'll make them much of a more offensive powerhouse. They got a lot of offense. Cam Ward in place. Their defense isn't the strongest. That's why I don't have them winning their division, but they'll finish in 6th. After that, I got the Flyers. They're a good team. They just don't have the goaltending, I think. That's why I have the 3rd in their division. Next up, I got the Penguins. They're actually the 2nd best team in the East in terms of points. But they're just, I don't know, they're just not as deep as Rangers defensively, and they don't have the goaltending. After that, I got the Washington Capitals. Adam Oates, I think he's going to bring them back to that offensive-minded team that they were a few years ago. That was so good in the regular season. I got them winning their division again. Next up, we got the Boston Bruins. I think they're actually the 4th best team in the East, but there's 3 teams in the Atlantic Division that only one of them can finish ahead of them. The Bruins, I hate them, absolutely hate them, but I got to put them 2nd in the East just because there's not much other competition in their division. After that, I got the Rangers just because they have so many talented players: Rick Nash, Brad Richards, Marian Gaborik, Michael Del Zotto, Henrik Lundqvist. This team might be the best team on paper in the NHL, and they proved it last year, getting 1st in the East. And all they really did was add Rick Nash this offseason, and I think Brandon Dubinsky's one of the I don't know. He might be the only one out that I can really name. They just got such a good team. I had them first in the East. In the West, last place we got Columbus. Blue Jackets suck. We all know that. They're gonna be there for a while. Calgary, they got an aging team. They're, I just don't think they'll be very good. Dallas, they added on a few pieces, but I still don't think they have just the team that they need to make it to the playoffs in terms of goaltending and defense. Their team is very good. Phoenix, this is a bit of a surprise after making it to the conference finals last year. But they've had magic in recent years. It seems like they always make the playoffs, but I think their span ends now. Phoenix, they start rebuilding and they'll leave the town soon. Next up, we got Anaheim. I think they got a good team in place, but part of the problem is they're going to be distracted all season because of the contracts of Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlav. Sorry. And, yeah, their defense, their goaltending, Jonas Hiller, They got a good first line, but other than that, they don't have very much. Next up, I got the Detroit Red Wings, finally missing the playoffs in over 20 years. You know what? I feel this team, they have a couple good players in Zetterberg and Datsuk, but they don't have too much on defense now. The goalie Jimmy Howard, I'd say he's an under-average goalie in terms of starting goalies. They just don't have that much of a team. Minnesota, I have them also missing the playoffs. Just because their offense was worse than the NHL last year. Yes, they had a great start, but their offense is worse than the NHL. Ryan Suter will barely make a difference in their offense at all, and Zach Parise, he scores points, but he is almost more of a defensive forward, just two-way forward, I'd say. But he's not gonna. It's pretty tough to make the playoffs with such a bad offense. Yeah. Next up, we got the Colorado Avalanche, making it back into the playoffs. You know, this is a bit of a surprise to people, but the NHL draft so long ago, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a Swedish guy that fell like 7 spots. He's supposed to be like top 3. If he's on the team, that'll be big for them. Landeskog, he's just a stud. I'd love to have him on the Canucks, but probably never will be. Added P.A. Parento, they got a good team up front. If Sam Varlamov can get the job done, they'll be in the playoffs. Next up, this is the pick a lot of people are making, and I'm going to be with a lot of people and pick the Oilers to make the playoffs just because they have so much talent on their team in terms of Nugent Hopkins, Eberle, Hall, Yakupov, Schultz. They got all that firepower. They're going to score so much. Devin Dubnyk could be a problem, but I think if he has an average season, Oilers will be in the playoffs. San Jose, they got some firepower, but everyone's getting older there. I got them moving up 1 seed from last year just because they had a bad end for the most part. No, they had a good end, actually. They were like out of the playoffs, and then they climbed back in. Okay, ignore that. Next up, I got the Nashville Predators. Even though they lost Ryan Suter, I think it'll hurt them a bit, but not too much. They stay in the race. Next up, I got the St. Louis Blues. You know, they had a big season last year. Were a Canucks loss away from winning the President's Trophy. I remember the last game of the year against the Oilers. We won it on Hockey Night in Canada. Blues fold number 4. Third, I got Chicago. I remember that playoff series with the Canucks and Blackhawks, the one that the Canucks won. Corey Crawford played outstanding, and if he can even come close to playing the way he did in that series, the Blackhawks, they're an elite team, and I think he will get back to that level. Blackhawks win the division. Next up, I got the Los Angeles Kings. Just coming off the Stanley Cup win. You know, they got a good team, but they had a pretty bad offense last season. They got it together in the playoffs, but I could see the same thing happening that happened last season. The Kings, their offense just, I don't know, it didn't work in the regular season. It worked in the playoffs, but yeah. And in first place, I got the Vancouver Canucks. You know, they got a good goalie, maybe the best overall defense unit in the NHL. And they are missing like a few players in their second line, but if their first line can play the way they have, that is just a scary first line they got. And now the playoff matchups. I'll just go quickly through these and maybe explain a few, but yeah. Starting off in the East, the number 1 seed, the Rangers, and the number 8 seed, the Canadiens. Rangers win that just because they're simply way more skilled and talented team. We got a rematch of Philly-Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh comes out on top this time. Just because I think Fleury isn't gonna fall apart like he did last year. Penguins win that. Then there's Boston Tampa Bay rematch of the conference finals a few years. I don't know. I haven't said anything else about this, but I think Boston takes in 7. Very close series. Then we got Washington and Carolina, a division matchup here. I think Washington wins that series. Just Braden Holtby. Right now, I think it's a better goaltender than Cam Ward. And all around, I think Washington's a better team than Carolina. Second round, Rangers and the Penguins. I got the Rangers coming on top just because they don't have their offensive firepower isn't as good as the Penguins is, but their defense has a slight edge, and goaltending I give them quite an edge. Rangers make it to the conference finals, and then Boston, Washington. As you can see right here, I got the Capitals moving on with a rematch with Rangers again after beating the Bruins again. Just not because I hate the Bruins, but I just feel like I don't know this Capitals team. They're an underrated team. I know I have the Rangers going to the Cup Finals, as you can see, but I think in the conference finals, this series could go any way if it actually happened, and it could happen. Yeah, I got the Rangers winning just because they're simply a better team, I think. Next up in the West, I got Canucks and Avs. Avs are a young team. Canucks have been in the playoffs a lot lately. Canucks get the job done, winning the first round, hopefully, this year. Next up, I got the Kings hosting the Oilers, and the Oilers are such a young team. Kings coming off the Stanley Cup run, I can't pick the Oilers in that. The Blackhawks and the Sharks. Sharks are an aging team. I don't know. I just don't believe in what the Sharks do or anything. Just the Blackhawks are a better team. They win the series. Next up, St. Louis and Nashville. It took me a few minutes to make this decision. It was a really tough one, but I gotta pick Nashville just because I feel just that like they're a better team. St. Louis is more of like their style of play and their coaching helps them get to where they're. Nashville, I feel like their actual talent will help them win this series. Oh, I picked St. Louis. Oh, ignore that pick right up, right up there. There. I have St. Louis in the next round, not Nashville. No, Nashville in the next round, not St. Louis. Next up, I got the Canucks hosting the Predators, and I got the Canucks winning that one. Just, I think they're simply a better team. They got more on defense. I know the Preds do have Shea Weber, but the Canucks have Ham Hughes, Edler, Bieksa, Garrison, and then a whole bunch of guys that can come in for 5 and 6. And LA, Chicago. I think Chicago, they come out on top. I don't know. This is a really tough one to pick too. Just a gut feeling I had Chicago. And then, who wouldn't want to see this conference finals matchup? Vancouver at Chicago, probably the best rivalry in all of hockey. Second best behind Philly-Pittsburgh now. After the playoffs last year, it's hard to turn that down. And I have Vancouver coming out on top. I said Corey Crawford would do good this year, but I don't think he can do as good as Corey Schneider. Canucks go to the Stanley Cup Finals, and as you can see, lose to the Rangers because the Rangers just have a better team, simply, I think. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier. You don't have to watch the whole video now. You can just take a quick look at my predictions up there. I hate being on camera and try to point to stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back at the playoffs and maybe the Super Bowl. I probably should have done NFL predictions, but I guess I haven't. I don't.